If you can sit in front of a seller and deliver the market information in a way that actually the seller can understand it, you can make yourself the obvious choice. You see, knowing the market and being a real expert is your value proposition. This is how you're going to get paid your worth. It's like this in any other profession. It should be no different here. Let your value proposition be the fact that you know the market better than anybody, any other real estate agent, any other competitor in your marketplace. And so I get questions all of the time. How do you study the market? What is the information that we need? And so I wanted to make this video for you guys so we can get into that in great detail so that you can really become a student of the game. So let's jump into this. And I think you guys are going to get a lot out of today's video. It's going to be super tactical because I want you to have confidence and conviction the next time you're on a listing presentation so that when the seller meets with you and then the seller meets with another agent or a competitor, they say to themselves, oh my gosh, it's not even close. I mean, this person, you, is such an expert. They understand this inside and out. It's not even close. You become the obvious choice. You get the contract signed. So let's jump right into today's training. So here's what we're gonna go through. All right. So number one, I'm gonna share with you guys exactly what data I focus on. And I'm going to share all of that with you, like the data that actually matters. Number two, we're going to talk about where to find the data. Number three, how to understand and interpret the data, because that's the key thing. We're not going to just read sellers a book. There's no value in that. You have to be able to understand the data, interpret what it's saying, and then communicate that in a way that gives great value to the homeowner. So why? So people can make decisions based on the data. And then number four, I'm going to teach you today how I communicate the data to position myself, and you'll be able to do the same thing, how to position yourself as an expert to attract more transactions. That's what we're here to do, is to help more people buy and sell real estate. So let's get started. The data that matters. Number one is the what I call the active buyer demand by price bracket. This is the most important piece of data that I believe is needed in order to serve a seller at the highest level. And it's also the data point that rarely, if ever, do I hear agents understand what it is, how to find it, how to communicate it. So I'm gonna teach you in today's video how to go into your marketplace and be able to find, okay, where are the most buyers by price range based on facts, not emotion, so that I can actually show a seller, hey, if we price the property in this bracket, we know this makes sense, not because of my words, but look how many transactions happen in this pocket or in this price bracket versus others. I'm going to show you guys how to do that. Number two, the number of showings to get an offer. Again, another data point, super important to be able to sit in front of a seller and explain to them from an expectation standpoint how many showings it took their competitors to get an offer. This is a great expectation to share with the seller. We got to make sure we know where to find it, how to communicate it. Number three, and I'm going to go through these fairly quickly because I don't want this video to be 7.5 hours long. The number of new listings, because once I get into the data piece of the training today, we're going to really unpack some details. So number of new listings. Number four, the number of pending listings, so came in the market, accepted an offer. Number five, the number of closed sales. Number six, the average days on market. Number seven, the average home price. And then number eight, the list price to sold price ratio. Number nine is inventory levels. Where are we at? Number 10, the absorption rate. And then number 11, understanding all of these different data points based on the entire market so we can communicate what's happening from a high level, and then breaking this down to the neighborhoods in which you serve. So different farm areas to have a specific market understanding by neighborhood, again, sets you apart from your competitors, positions you as the authority. So make sure before I go on in this training, what I recommend, what I do every month is I have a little time slot in my calendar every month where it's scheduled time where I'm doing the research monthly so that I can stay on top of the market, so we can do some of the things you're going to learn in today's training. So let's talk about where to find the data. So number one, we can get it through the MLS reports. I'm going to get into my MLS in a second. We'll start to unpack and dive deep there. Number two, showing time if you have access to this in your marketplace. And then number three, which we all have access to, because I think one of the objections I get, right, is like, Brandon, I don't have these reports on my MLS. Brandon, I don't have showing time. What do I do? Well, you don't have to worry. I'm going to show you something called Altos Research, and it's a really cool tool, and we'll get into it in a second. All right, so let's dive into, I'm going to come back to the training slides. Let's get into finding the data. So I'm logged into my MLS right now, and we are going to dive in. So really quick, we can do this a couple different ways. So your MLS probably, it could look similar to this, or it might look a little different, but I think it'll be fairly the same. So if we just go to, the thing I like to open up here, let's see, here it is. Okay. Easy statistical reports. This is going to launch something called InfoSparks. All right. I love this product. Most MLSs I see are integrated with InfoSparks. And before I get through some of this, I want to show you the fast stats first. So I'm going to click on fast stats here. This will bring up your MLS or your market area. And this is the county in which I serve. So I'm just going to click on the county. Whoop, and then I'm going to go view Oakland County report, and boom. I think it was 2 or 3 clicks. You probably heard it, of the mouse. And I have the majority, I would say 80% of the data that we need. Okay. So I'm going to come back to this, but this outlines all of our key metrics. And then it gives us a year over year difference, because data is less important without context. And so data tells a story. So I'm going to come back to that in a second. When you're in InfoSparks, let me hit back. This screen right here. So we can go to fast stats, which is cool. But the other thing is I'm going to put in my market area. Check this out. So if I just put this in here, I can look at data for the entire MLS, but I'm just going to put in my market, one of the markets I serve. So we'll go to Rochester Hills, Michigan. All right, so we want this in Oakland County. Okay, so this gives me a nice comparison on this chart, what's happening in the entire MLS versus my market area, okay? So here's a couple key things that you're gonna get from InfoSparks. If you scroll down, you're gonna see on my screen right now, this has all the different KPIs and key metrics that matter most, right? That we just went through. But this is where you're going to get your showings to pending, right? So if I click on this, this will show me, okay, as of May 2022, this will show me, okay, cool. In the entire MLS, it's taking 14 showings on average to go under contract. And then in this market, in the green, it's saying, okay, well, it's taking 17 showings on average to get an accepted offer. Okay, got it. Well, what about showings per listing? Because I want to be able to show and set expectations with the seller on what's good and what's bad. Without context, it's impossible to understand what's going on, right? If every single day it was sunny and 80 degrees, you would never say, "Oh, it's a shitty day outside," because that's all you would know. So showings per listing, this is really good data, right? Again, positioning yourself as the expert. So in the entire MLS, showings per listing that went on the market was 9.1, and then in my market area was 13.4. So now I can give my client some context, right? So let me just go to monthly. And the monthly view is even better because now this says, okay, well, what's happening month by month versus year by year? And then you can start to see, well, what is actually happening? And if you look at this graph on the screen, and the story is starting to trend, if we see showings per listing, these going way, way down. All right. So what's happening? Higher interest rates, more inventory. This is going to be a story that's new to most of you that got in the real estate business over the last 3 to 5 years. You, for the most part, if that's you, you've been in a market. If you go back, everything has been going up. Prices have been going up. Showings have been going up. Interest rates have been going down. Multiple offers have been going up. Well, now it's the inverse of that. So we can start to tell that story through the data. And now we can position our conversation at a listing appointment in a way where we're not just using our words, we're actually showing them, all right? So let me go back to, so this is InfoSparks. I like to get these two things from the data on my entire MLS, on the markets that I serve, the showings to pending, and then showings to listing. All right, now I'm going to go to the high-level overview. I want to break down the data here for a second so I can share with you how I'm interpreting the data so that you can start to do the same thing in your market. So when we look at new listings, all right, hopefully you're looking at my screen. We're going to highlight the first section. New listings. So in 2021, in May 2021, just over 2,200 new listings came in the marketplace. And we're coming out of the lowest inventory the world really has ever seen. Well, I'll call it the country has ever seen. For the first time in a long time, we have an increase in new listings year over year. I haven't seen this number, and again, I do this every month. I haven't seen the percentage change year over year go up in a long time, like years. So what does that mean? Well, this is the first indicator that we're seeing more inventory enter the marketplace. We're starting to see sellers who have been on the sidelines for quite some time waiting to say, okay, what's going to happen with this market? Now there's some urgency. Why? Well, potentially not even potentially, absolutely, and I'll talk about it in a second, home values are starting to level off. So no more does waiting help them, right? If you look back over a couple of years, and I'm not going to rush through this. So I'm talking to all the agents out there that are focused and disciplined and have a good attention span. This isn't a TikTok video, right? For like 2 seconds, you get your dopamine and you're out of here. I'm trying to really help you through what it is that I do so you can get more business. So I digress. Let's get back to business here. So new listings, when they're increasing, the urgency that the sellers have is A, prices are leveling off, and B, interest rates are rising like crazy, as all of you know. So now all the sellers that have been sitting on the sidelines say, okay, wait a minute. We can no longer wait. We have to do something. So that's number one. Next, let's look at pending sales. So pending sales are down 8%. Okay, so this is the inverse of what we've been seeing. Traditionally speaking, because we've had such a lack of inventory, it would only make sense that statistically speaking, you wouldn't see as many transactions potentially, but that wasn't a sign of the market. This is, ready? Because you have more opportunities and less people buying the houses. We went down 8% from this time last year when there were less houses on the market and more people buying. So now it's the inverse of that. We have more sellers and less buyers. This is what brings us out of a seller's market into a neutral market. And now you know as an agent, because you're going to be the expert after this video, why and what the data is showing, how to interpret the data in a way that you can communicate to the seller that plays to the perception that you are the obvious choice to handle the sale of their home. Now let's talk about closed sales. So yet again, this number is has gone down 11% in my market. So this is another sign that we are in a shifting market. We're coming out of the seller's market. Look at before. We had less houses coming in the market, more people buying them, more sales. Now we have more houses coming in the market, less people are buying, less sales. So let's look at days on market. Days on market, in my opinion, if you have been watching any of my content for any length of time, or you and I work together from a coach-player relationship, you understand how much emphasis I put on days on market when I'm communicating to a seller. I believe that time is the great equalizer when it comes to helping people sell their properties for the most money. And right now, that days on market has gone down, okay? What does this mean? I would say the amateur agent says, well, this is a sign of the strength of the market. I would probably debate that a bit. I would say that this is more of a sign of buyer urgency because at the rate at which interest rates are rising. So they're making decisions faster is the story on why it's taking less time now to sell a home than it has in the past. When interest rates were so historically low, buyers could afford to take more time before they make that decision. I think that is a reflection of what's happening with interest rates. However, this is a great thing. This is a great upside for sellers, okay? Next, median average sales price, okay? So what we're looking at here, if you study your market like I'm asking you to do, you would notice that for the last, I would say, 5 years or so, we've had double-digit increases. Well, that's not the case anymore. When people ask you what is happening with property values, they are absolutely leveling off. Okay, so we had a 5% year-over-year growth in sales price, but I will tell you, as this 2022 year continues, this will probably flatline completely. And so we don't know, and I don't really have any data to suggest that it gets inverted and we start going down in values yet. But I would say that this is absolutely going to flatline here soon, which we have to communicate to sellers. Again, another reason why it makes absolutely no sense for a seller to wait any longer. You can make that case in the past. You cannot make that case now. Percentage of listing price received. This is massive. This is why, so if you see it, last year, on average, this isn't like once in a while. This is on average, homes that get listed get over their asking price on average, right? This year, it's even more. It's even more. So the thing is, I've made videos on this channel where I've taught you guys the script on communicating to sellers and saying, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, what I would propose is this. Potentially we get together one day. I'll share with you what other sellers are doing to get buyers to overpay for their homes. And some of you got really mad at me for that. Well, I don't know why, because it's the facts. It's what's actually happening. And so that's why I love that script so much, because I think some of the comments I got before was like, oh, that's super misleading. And how can you say that? And I got all kinds of hate for it. I'm just communicating the facts. Like, this is average. In an entire county, in my state, it's not happening once in a while. It is the average. So more times than not, it's happening than not. So that's why I love that script so much, because you can set a lot of appointments because you're selling the value of the appointment. You're selling the value of the data. All right, next is inventory. So number of homes for sale. This is the big headline. This is the big thing that everyone's talking about that drives the market, which it absolutely does, okay? Inventory drives the real estate market. It drives prices, timing, it drives everything. This number, for the first time in I don't know how many years, is a plus. It's always been a minus. We have an increased level of inventory. This is why, okay, us as real estate agents in this community have to be communicating urgency in the marketplace with sellers. This is good news for buyers. So if you're dealing with a buyer and you're in a buyer consultation, again, communicating the data so that you are the expert authority and you're positioning yourself to be the obvious choice to win the business, this is great news for buyers. I mean, outside of them dealing with interest rates, the fact of them having more opportunities, more listings coming into the marketplace, it's a great thing. So they have more at-bats. And then lastly is the month's supply of inventory, otherwise known as absorption rate, okay? This is also increasing. Absorption rate is the amount of time it would take to have zero inventory in the marketplace. So what does that mean? That's why you've seen this market go crazy bananas over the last couple of years. Last year, this time in my market, we had just over 30 days worth of inventory. That means that if not another listing came into the marketplace, that within about 30 to 40 days, there would be zero homes for sale. Great for sellers, bad for buyers. Now you can see the month's worth of supply increasing by 18%. All right. Again, another piece of evidence that suggests this market is absolutely shifting from a seller's market, not to a buyer's market, to a neutral market. Okay. This is key. A neutral market where it's more of an even playing field for buyers and sellers. A buyer's market, before I move on, months of inventory needs to be more like 4 to 6 months worth of inventory, okay? So 3 months worth of inventory is more of a neutral market. 1 month is obviously a seller's market, and 4 to 6 months is a buyer's market. So there's a good unpacking, if you will, of the data. And so hopefully you got a lot out of that. You learned a thing or two. And if you have questions about that, obviously you can put them into the chat. So I want to talk about communicating the data. So once you have the data, you have this time scheduled every month in your calendar, you're really learning it. You really know this for the entire market. You know this for all of the different neighborhoods in which you serve. Now let's talk about actually communicating that data. So number one, you want to treat yourself almost like a news anchor, because when we talk about expert positioning, where people can meet with you, have conversations with you over the phone and in person, and watch some of your content, you always want to be positioning yourself again as the expert. So you can do this acting as if the local real estate news anchor, always communicating what is happening in the market, serving the community at the highest level. So number two, how do you do that? Every agent that I coach, I have them do a weekly Facebook show. Now, don't get overwhelmed. Stick with me here for a second. What I want you to do is, and you can use a tool called StreamYard. StreamYard will allow you to go live, okay, on your personal Facebook page, your realtor business Facebook page, your Facebook group, which all of you should have real estate community Facebook groups, and on your LinkedIn and on YouTube potentially. And what I want you to do is every week at the same time, on the same day, I want you to do at least once a month, minimum. Preferably, I'd like you to do this weekly. But when we're talking about the market data, once a month, you're doing a Facebook Live. I like to do them on a Thursday night at 8 p.m. You can go on there for 20, 30 minutes, and now you can present the data the way in which I just presented it to you to continue to build your expert authority in the local community, okay? This is what I would ask of you to do every week. Then we can upload that video to YouTube so that it sits on that platform from an evergreen standpoint, which will continue to drive exposure to yourself, to your business, and drive leads into your business. So when people are on the internet and they're either Googling or they're on YouTube looking for information about your local market, your video content can be served to those people. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take that video and then we're going to email it out to your entire database. So this is the weekly video email. If you're just doing a once a month market update, you can send this email to your database once a month. It unpacks the data, okay, from a text standpoint. So it has all the copy in there. And then it has the video format because you already did your weekly show. You download the video and you can put that inside of your email. Next, you can also do daily stories on Instagram and Facebook. So on a daily basis, as things are happening in real time in your market, we can be communicating that to the local marketplace on Facebook, Instagram, daily stories. Okay, so as things are happening in the market, we need to be communicating this. Why? Because we're the news anchor. All right, next, the monthly real estate digest. So what we have all of our coaching clients do, and feel free to do this as well, is we have this in written format. So we put this inside of a letter, and then we send out our market updates monthly to our top 100 database. Okay, this is our past clients, centers of influence, top leads, and to our farm areas, the neighborhoods in which we want to get listings. We do that every single month through a company called Mailbox Power. Okay, there are links to that in the description. And then the next thing you want to do is hand deliver the information to your farm area once a month. So you can take the letter format, okay? If you could send those out through mail, through Mailbox Power, you don't have to touch any postage, stamps, nothing. And then the highest, most impactful way is to hand deliver once a month the market update based on neighborhood to the farm areas in which you serve. This by itself, when done right, people in the neighborhood will start to look forward to you getting this, because we're not going there and asking them, hey, are you looking to sell? 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 No, we're just serving them, right? We're just serving them. Because the more we give, the more we get. We're playing to the law of reciprocity. We're giving with no expectation of getting anything in return. And because of that, we get lots in return. All right, so remember that. So we're hand delivering that every month to the homeowners in our market farm area. So I hope now you have an understanding of what is the data I focus on monthly, where I find the data. Oh, you know what I didn't do? I promised you a tool to get data outside your MLS and outside of showing time, and I almost didn't do it. So let me just show you this really quick. So this is Altos Research. Amazing website. So just go to, I think the website is just altosresearch.com. And then you could throw in any zip code. All right, so I'll just throw in a zip code and check this out. So now you can say, it doesn't matter what your MLS has access to or not access. If you have showing time, if you don't have showing time, it doesn't matter. You can go to Altos Research for free, put in whatever zip code in which you serve, and boom, it has the real-time market update information in here on everything you need. All right, so all the data we just went through, everything is in here for you. I even like this little drop-down, so you can kind of go, you can segment this by different data point or different data set. So this is another really, really good resource for you guys if you don't have access to the reports I showed you inside the MLS and or showing time. All right. So, and you know what? I almost forgot another thing. So let me show you a couple more reports, because now that I'm thinking about this, see, this is what happens when I start making videos without them being scripted, which is what you guys asked for. All right, let me show you one more thing that actually it matters a lot. I can't believe I forgot this. Probably the most important part of the video. Let me see. I need to show you guys something that just too many agents I'm seeing not doing this. So let's go into, I want you to, speaking of showing time. So if you have showing time, I'm going to show you what we're going to do. This is how, let me just pull up the report. So in showing time, we just hit on reports and we go to target market analysis. All right. Inside here, this is amazing. We could put in the price points in which we serve. So I'm just going to put in, just as an example, I'll just put in 250, and I'll just give me a broad range just so I can show you guys a couple things. 250 to 650. Again, I'll put in my market area. And then I'm going to hit submit. Okay, so this is for the last month. Last month, which is fine. All right. So let me show you. This is crazy. This is what this is showing. I'm going to actually build this out by increments. Let's see if I can do 25,000 if it'll let me. Cool. All right, perfect. All right, this is incredible. This is showing us the buyer activity by price bracket. Okay, so I teach in my pricing presentation, I teach something called price bracketing. This is what we need to be showing the sellers when we're in our pricing presentation that will help to influence where that property should be priced based on data, not on what the seller thinks, and certainly not what you and I think. It's all based on data. So check this out. I put this in here, 250 to 625, just kind of the whole market, because I want to see where are the best price brackets by buyer activity. Well, a couple things point out right now. Look at my screen right now. So from 275 to 300, that's a huge pocket. So if we look at this, right, this is 10% of that pool, and you can break this down more, right? So let me just this will help give you some more context. I'll just do 250 to 350. This will probably make more sense. Did that update? Let's see. All right, yeah, so this is good. So whoops. Hold on, let's update this. 250 to 350. All right, so let's do this. So now I might even be able to put this down to 10,000. Let's see. Yeah, I can. All right, perfect. So this is what I'm talking about. When you're pricing property, you have to take price bracketing into consideration. If you do not know what price bracketing is, let me know in the comments, and I'll make a whole video on price bracketing and how to present that at your pricing presentation. All right, so here we are. So 250 to 260, we can see is between this is one of the biggest amounts of buyer activity. And then 290 to 300 is the second one. So those are two very interesting brackets. So now when we do this by $25,000 increments, we could say, okay, now it's more clear. Now we can say, okay, there's more buyers in this 275 to 299. So if you're looking to price a property and your CMA is coming in around like 260, 265, it would make a lot more sense for you to price, listen closely, right at 275, not 274.99. You have to price it at 275. Why? Because you can see, based on the data, we can see that if you price this property below 275 at like 269.9, you're crushing the seller. All the buyers in this bracket, there's a lot more buyers here. You're putting out potentially, let's see, look at the data. Almost 37% of the buyers, if you price this thing $5,000 incorrectly, you knock out 37% of the buyers, all right? So now you can go in these reports and you can see for yourself strategically, okay, how am I going to price this thing so I make the seller's house the obvious choice? Again, making you the expert. Here's the thing, you guys, nobody's doing this. Your competitors are not doing this. They're not going to this level of data and showing the seller, and the seller can't, they can't debate anything. Not only would they not debate, they're like, dude, this guy or this woman is incredible. I understand why they charge a premium for their services now, right? So you can see that. The other thing is, on this snapshot, you can see the monthly average of buyer activity of showings. These are showings. How many showings by bracket? And then you can see the weekly average. This breaks this entire thing down, all right? So now that I've shown you the reports and I didn't forget anything, my goal is that you know what data is important. You know how to find the data. We know how to interpret the data, and now we know how to communicate the data, and we know how to disseminate the information out to the marketplace. So this was a highly requested video. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. You can always change your mind later if you find that you're not getting value from the channel. Hopefully that's not the case. And if there's anything I can do to be of service, let me know in the comments, and we'll see you guys in another video. I appreciate your guys' attention. I know this was a longer video, but hopefully it was worth it. We'll talk to you guys soon.